I'm Jeremy Taylor, the Brit on the radio, in your luggos. Let me gently introduce, in an amusing application of elusive alliteration used with the point and pungent perspicacity, thrilling threnody of rapturous rippling rumbustious, our panel for tonight. The indefatigable, the indomitable, the irrefutable Kathleen Taylor.
Hi.
A man who was once thought lost to legend, recently resurrected. Jason Springer now.
Dr. Seuss, what's good?
That marvel of female bohemian sophistication.
Bohemian?
Jane Carter.
Hello.
The Transylvanian Dark Lord of literature and pheromones, Ivo Ivanov. And the most interesting man in the world's smarter brother, magic, Dr. Orlando. Without further ado, let's start with the first question for our panel. You're naked in your house because it's 95 degrees outside and you're vacuuming.
Hold on. I have a question for you, Jeremy. I don't mean to interrupt. Well, actually, I do mean to interrupt.
You do, yeah.
Tell me, sir, is London reeling right now from the terrorist attacks?
Reeling?
That is the phrase, right?
Reeling.
Uh-huh.
John Oliver described it best when he said, on its knees, reeling? No. Upset and pissed off? Certainly. As one woman pointed out to CNN, talking about London streets being eerily quiet, she said, look, mate, it's Sunday morning. They're not cowering in fear. They're having a lie-in. If London is reeling, it means there must be an Irish dance festival in Trafalgar Square again. Seriously, things that really worry Londoners, actually, Brits of all sorts really, are people who try to make tea in a microwave. And when there's no Vil or milk...
then you wouldn't like me. Because I nuke my water every
Okay.
time. before I put it in the bag.
Away from the table now.
Yeah.
No.
And when there's no milk available for one's tea, having to use creamer instead.
Why use
And what's
milk?
worse than weak tea? Iced tea. And worse than that...
Hold on.
things that
This sounds like a let's pick on in America.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hearing right now.
Or-
Oh, no.
or-
See, here's the beautiful thing about that. I actually happened to find online this list of 19 crazy things Brits do. So,
Only
you guys...
only 19?
There were only 19 on the list. So, all of you guys have been to Britain, to the UK before. I have not. So, this all just sounds weird as shit to me. So, I want you guys to let me know if this is true, and then we can have Jeremy explain the strangeness of his countrymen.
Sure.
So, like, number one, the washing machines are in the kitchen.
Well,
Yeah, I don't get that. No, I don't get that either.
Because they're plumbed. I mean, so's everything else in the kitchen. And you got a nice...
So is everything else in the
They
house.
are in flats for sure. I don't know about detached houses. I've seen them have separate rooms, but
So, Mr. Taylor, what's up with that weirdness?
Yeah? Go on. Explain why
What's
washing
weird
machines
about
are in...
having washing machines in the kitchen?
Well, in America, where we do things the right way, we have
Yes.
those laundry machines in the laundry room.
You are people, who have toasters that will only toast 2/3 of the bread.
Excuse me.
No, wait. You are people who will add a pancake to a full English.
Breakfast.
What's wrong with that?
If you want to ruin a Brit's dump,
Okay, right there.
replace the
Right there,
lavatory roll upside down. Or even worse, take a bite out of 2 fingers of a Kit Kat at the same time.
this has become much more interesting than temperature. I have to admit.
All right, so tell me what's up with British fine food. Like, what's the deal with the beans on toast? What's that all about?
Testify, Dr. Lewis. Dr. Orlando
Have you
taking you
ever
down.
eaten beans on toast?
Heinz beans
Okay.
on toast.
Heinz beans.
No.
No.
Or even ordinary baked beans
No.
on toast.
Okay, so
Maybe with a
let
little
me
cheese
let me
on top.
explain.
Sure.
You
It's actually
Americans
really
don't
good.
really understand the etiquette of meals, right?
Like that.
No, we don't.
No. I
So-
would say we
Lunchtime is
Perfected.
I'm getting there. Lunchtime is when you have lunch.
right.
Tea time is usually around 3:30, 4 o'clock.
No, tea time is when you're
That
thirsty.
is when you have tea.
Yeah.
When you go to the
tea,
first tea.
tea, and you will have maybe some cakes and maybe some
See,
more
it's
sandwiches.
not tea time, it's snack time.
No, that's tea time.
No, here it's snack time.
High tea is usually at around 6 o'clock, and that is when the children would have baked beans on toast or Welsh
And what,
rabbit.
smoke a joint?
Beans
I mean,
on toast.
Yes, Welsh rabbit, and as opposed to any other sort of rabbit. And then dinner
doesn't actually
would
have any
normally
rabbit in it, by
dinner
the way.
would normally be at about 8 o'clock. So you know,
Okay, so what about the desserts then? Like,
Yeah.
how did you guys come up with the name Spotted Dick?
If you looked at it, you would know.
I can't do it more beer.
Yeah, see, where did that come from?
Spotted Dick. Right. Well, Spotted Dick is a pudding. In fact, that was a waitress.
Yeah, but that's not
It's a pudding.
an
For example, and there's a
American
lot
pudding.
of confusion
it's not
with
good, man.
Spotted Dick because of the creamy stuff that you have to pour that comes all over the top of it,
See,
which is custard. And custard, yes. And then, of course, there's Yorkshire pudding, because you don't have the yellow creamy stuff on
show's
on
ruined.
that. You
All right.
you will
Okay,
have
let's just
Yorkshire
move.
pudding.
Let's just move
which
off
is
this.
Like
Let's just
gravy.
keep going. I'm
I
going to go
want
to
to
the
see
next
who
thing.
can gross each other out most.
Hey, hold on.
Actually
So-
like it. What's wrong with me then?
So I'm asking Jeremy to please explain why his country is so goddamn strange. Like, have you, Mr. Evelyn?
Have you spoken to Jeremy lately?
Well, see, Jeremy, I think would be the perfect guy because if he can explain
Yeah.
himself, then he should be able to explain the country.
All right.
So
Let me
what the
put it
hell-
like this: you lot get terribly worked up about sharks, for example, shark attacks. I mean, when I was doing radio last year, we did shark attacks every Friday. Well, my favourite beach had its first shark attack the other day, and the surfer was left with a sore thumb. Now, it's about wanting to die like Grandad in his sleep, and not screaming like all his passengers.
Oh, boo, boo.
I mean, it's things you lot just don't understand. Train wine, for example.
Train wine.
Train wine.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's called airplane wine here, bud.
Because we're in America.
Yeah.
Wine that you drink on a
When
train?
you are on,
It's not called
when
Amtrak
you-
wine.
When you are in a compartment on a British railway
So there's no mystery to it.
thing, you can buy glasses of wine, right, with cling film over the top of them, and there are a different range.
Seriously?
It's one of our greatest
I was there
inventions.
for 14 years. I never saw. Of course, I never was in first
Train
class.
wine.
You never went on a
Isn't that
train,
a
for
freezing
God's sake.
term?
You were
Okay.
always in chauffeur-driven
No,
Mercedes.
Well, other
that's
than that,
toilet
so
wine.
there's train wine,
Yes.
and
And then there's Mr. Blobby, but that's a completely
You're
different.
gonna
Hold
drink
on.
something
Hey, we
that
got to
came out
stop with Mr. Blobby. We got to visit on Mr. Blobby. Do you guys know? Have you guys seen Mr. Blobby?
No.
Okay,
thank
this is a
God.
Mr.
picture of
Blobby.
Mr. Blobby.
Blobby. Blobby.
Blobby?
hell is
Blobby?
that?
That's Mr. Bill.
That's Mr. Blobby.
Oh, that is.
That's Mr. Blobby.
That's
Mr.
Mr.
Blobby,
Bill from
Mr.
No,
Blobby
Mr.
is
Bill was a
large
clay
pink meringue-like
character.
person.
This is some flesh-colored monstrosity.
He's not very
Yeah, now that we're closer, what the
eloquent.
fuck is that?
He's just blobby, blobby.
It's like a sex
It's
doll.
That's it. Huh?
Yes,
Wait,
that
wait,
is
Kind of like
measles.
train wine. There's no mystery to it whatsoever.
It's like a
Mr.
sex
Blobby.
doll from the
With
circus,
measles, yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You know, Mr.
look
Blobby
at
was
it.
on the TV. He was a TV personality until someone ate him.
Oh.
The thing is, you know, you get worked out. How many channels have you got on TV?
Almost enough.
Right. But we just have one.
I know.
No, you don't.
And it's called the BBC.
No, you don't,
Well, we
man.
used to.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
there's
worn
about
out.
5 now.
Yeah.
It's only one watchable. The rest is it's
And there's
giving
a
it too much
confusion.
credit.
You lot have a confusion over words.
So we were talking about Britain. Was that the first topic?
Yeah.
It kind of turned into that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, Fanny and Spunk.
Oh dear.
Is that
It's
related
interesting.
to Spotted Dick
Yes.
It is a little bit, yeah.
or to Mr. Blobby?
Can it be both?
Spunk means a person who's got drive, a bit like you, Evo. You know,
That's what
got
it used to
drive
be.
That's what it used to
Yeah.
be.
Will
That's
go
what it
up,
used to
go up a mountain.
What does it mean now?
You
It
say
means
you
jizz
say the
or
word
cum.
spunk loudly
That's it.
in
Yeah,
in
Disneyland.
You've got it from
in
the UK.
Disneyland. Exactly
It's
right.
Spunky
yes.
Land.
Yes. It's
So here's the thing that confused me the most out of this article. The one thing that I really want an explanation on. Why do you guys use a washing tub in the sink to wash your dishes?
a plastic tub
Yeah.
because we don't want to scratch the sink.
My mom does that.
And also,
Holy hell.
And also, there is a reason. There is no. Stop. Pay attention. Don't mock the afflicted. It's unfair.
Well,
now, come
yes,
on.
I will let you finish before I mock you. Go
There
ahead.
is a reason. It's because you lot are so uncivilized that you don't have decent glasses, right? And if you have lead crystal glasses and you drop that on a proper sink, right? Okay,
A proper
Belfast ceramic
sink. Not an
sink,
improper
They say
sink.
ceramic.
your glass will break.
You know what?
And a Royal Dalton whiskey glass will cost you £100 at least.
You know how you solve
So
that
that's
problem?
why you put them in a plastic.
Walmart.
You either buy shitty glasses or you don't wash those glasses
Well,
in the
that's
sink.
because you're not coof, isn't it?
Or what's
You
the
just don't wash the
You've got
glasses
no
in
coof.
the sink.
what's the
It's
UK
got- you got
version
no
of Walmart?
coof,
Is
have
that
you?
is that
Couth?
Tesco?
I'm sorry.
Coof.
What?
The UK version of Walmart.
Oh,
Oh, it's UK.
well, Tesco.
Tesco's or Aldi's or something.
Tesco is a large grocery
Tesco, yeah.
chain,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
not quite Walmart.
Yeah.
It's close.
So are you done mocking the bricks?
I am
And
done
your
for
queen.
now. We're going to take a break because we got actual topics to cover. But yes.
that was fun.
Well, you did good throwing them back. You
did,
were
yeah.
just as saucy.
Saucy. Yeah.
saucy little minx you.
So
Yeah, Spunk.
here's one for you then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Just don't.
Do you read the terms
wanna know
and
about
conditions? You know, when you buy something or you do something or you sign up to something, do you read the terms and condition? In one spoof recently, it was found that no one does. And so, inevitably, around 22,000 people have now found themselves legally bound to 1,000 hours of community service, including, but not limited to, cleaning toilets at festivals, scraping chewing gum off the streets, and manually relieving sewer blockages. Let's start with Jason Springer now. Do you read the small print?
Typically, no. Depends how much money I'm spending for the item. Or depends how important that small print may be, how it may affect me for whatever thing I'm purchasing or whatever reason I need to read the small print. If I don't need to read it, and if it doesn't pertain to something I spend a lot of money on, I could care less.
Do you upload your photos to the cloud anywhere?
No.
Do you use your phone in any way, shape, or form whatsoever?
I do.
Then your
Well,
soul
he
is
probably
owned
reads the
by.
phone.
Oh, I'm sure-
phone.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, the end user license agreement is becoming more and more sinister form of manipulation, and I know that Facebook, for example, if you read the small print, which is like 10 pages, and it's written in like some kind of
Klingon.
mixture of Sanskrit, Latin, English, law, and it's just unreadable crap. Last I looked, there were sentences, there were 700 words, and you can't really read it. Or if you read it, you won't understand it. But ultimately, when you sign it, from what I've heard, when you start using Facebook, everything you post becomes their property.
Yep.
And it's royalty free. They can use it for whatever they want. Unless you actually remove it yourself from your page. But how many people remove their photos and videos and statements, and they can use it for advertisement, they can use it for anything, they can use it for sinister stuff, they can use it against you, they can do whatever they want. Same thing with the cloud. When you place photos and videos on the cloud,
Becomes
you better
theirs.
read the small print because they will
Yep.
use that shit.
Yep.
Also, the fucking television stations and internet providers, in their small print, I believe there is a clause that they can provide anything to the
So
government.
do you read that small print or not?
If I did, I would be there for the rest of my life reading small
That's pretty
print.
much why
This is
I
like
get
getting an answer from a Republican. Do you read the small print or no?
Well, my answer is like his. I do on more important things like my health insurance, on these things. But if I read every small print, there's just not enough time in the universe.
No.
Do you have a late model car? Do you have OnStar?
I don't have OnStar, but yeah.
Good, because before you even say yes to that, be aware that the data they use, which is everywhere you drive, all the way you drive, and they keep track of it, can be sold. They reserve the right to sell that data, not
Yes.
just to your own insurance
Yes.
company, but to the police.
Yes.
And
That
you
sounds
can't.
about right.
And once you've signed it, you can't renounce it. You can't say I'm not going to use it anymore. They will keep tracking you, and you can't stop it.
You know, I'm not one of those guys that are like militant on the internet criticizing products and services. There's people that have dedicated their life on going on Yelp and going negative on certain service. I mean, it feels like there's people that's all they do, but I don't do that.
No.
But if I did, there's like the newest thing that's really sinister is they include in the fine print that you cannot criticize them on Yelp or give feedback on negative feedback on Yelp or any other. So they can sue you if you provide, and so they can contact you and say you need to remove this statement because in the fine print you signed that you cannot do that.
I don't think I like this conversation anymore. I'm starting to feel unsafe.
Well, there are certain terms and conditions or terms of service that are actually kind of funny. We used to have a game where we had a headline that had a word missing. And I would like you to guess what the word missing is on this one. From Business Insider, this is actually 2014.
You came prepared.
I came prepared. Business Insider says, Tumblr's hilarious new legal terms of service include a ban on pretending to be
Someone
blank.
else.
True.
Donald Trump.
Not Donald Trump.
Somebody else.
Honest.
Anybody.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Nice.
Well,
Awesome.
who hasn't
That is
pretended to be
awesome.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Absolutely. They also have
That is fantastic.
refreshingly readable terms and some stuff like saying don't publish stuff like dead bodies and doing gross things because you are a dick. You know,
What?
sort of
You're
thing.
a spotted dick.
Lou, what about you, bud?
What is a batch of cumber, by the way? I mean, has anyone asked themselves what the fuck is that?
That sounds even more disgusting.
Actually, it's a 1960s, an early 1960s pop. Dr. Orlando.
As a general rule, I will read through whatever the device or type of service is to understand what the terms of service say. So, meaning, I don't read the terms of service every time I buy a new phone, but I occasionally read the terms of service on a phone that I buy so that I am aware of the types of languages and stipulations that
okay.
are in there.
That makes sense.
And for me, anytime I sign a service agreement, specifically a service agreement, I read the terms of service because so my
kind of go back to what Evo and I said, yeah.
well, but I don't think you guys realize how often we sign service agreements.
Way too often. Oh, yeah.
That's
way too
the
Every
thing.
often,
time,
yeah.
almost every time
Like,
you buy something. Yeah.
When you buy an app on your phone, you're signing a service agreement. There's almost nothing that you can, and for me, it comes from the fact that we have moved away from being an ownership society. Like,
Oh, yeah.
when I was a kid, my parents would say all the time, "Are you dancing down there, Taylor?"
That's moving.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my parents would say all the time, never sign your name on a contract until you read it all the way through. And I feel like nowadays it is, don't sign a house loan unless you read it
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or don't sign, a multi-year, multi-$1,000 item
Yeah.
without reading it through. But the truth of the matter is, as a society, we don't really own anything anymore.
We
Correct.
don't. And consumer protection has been eroding for the last 20, 30 years. I mean, there's no more Ralph Naders. There's no more consumer protection experts or advocates. It's shifted gradually towards big multinational corporations to a point where you're not protected anymore and you cannot sue anybody.
And it's accelerating. It's getting worse and worse, faster and
Yes.
faster.
Having said that, we'll go to I bought something recently, And when I got home, I realized
It's not
3
vibrating
hours
properly.
away that, and 2 weeks later, incidentally, that they had put the price up on me without me realizing. So I bought an item,
Yeah.
and they'd put the price up $70, and I hadn't realized.
Yes.
And so I called them and I said, this isn't fair. And they have at the back of their catalogue a darn it clause. They actually call it darn it or oh darn it or something like that. And the girl initially said, well, of course there is the oh darn it clause and we appreciate, but we have to have the fine print. Let me put you through to my manager, and I explained what had happened. And he said, well, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a voucher for the $70 because we're nice guys. Does that work for you? Now, he didn't argue with me. He just did it. But the bottom line is, if I had turned around to him and said, I'm a talk show host, that might have had effect. If I'd done what I normally do, though, is to say, okay, well, let's do small claims. And when we get there, and you've had to send someone up for 3 hours to represent you, because I will make sure you do, right? There'll be your local lawyer, but I'll ensure that there's people from your office, and there'll probably be 3 of them. Your lawyers are going to tell you, give the guy the $70 back. And that has always worked. Jane?
I don't really buy anything, like ever.
Oh, stop it. You came here in a car, right?
Can I speak?
Go for it.
The only time.
Can't you finish? Can't you finish?
Oh my God, I love that. The only time I ever buy a major purchase, honestly, the only thing I've bought major in the past 10 years is a car and
I'm
signed
sorry, I
mortgage
got to interrupt
the
you.
house.
Everybody, let's give Tom Conroy a big hand.
Yes. Let's give Tom Wright sponsoring the show and paying for our food tonight. It's
Yes. Thank you for the spotted dick.
Yes, and custard.
All right, I'm
And
sorry.
can I just point out, you say I bought a car, bought a house. What other big items have you bought recently?
Phone.
Nothing.
No.
Oh,
I
I'll tell
don't-
you.
It's
What, $1,000 worth? Airline tickets.
Oh, okay. I was like, God, what did I do?
What did you buy?
Yeah, airline.
Did you buy it from Jeremy?
And
Did
the
it come in a
small
little
print with the
envelope?
airline tickets.
Yeah, you're right. I guess
I'm
again,
thinking of
it's
poor Ann
back to the
Coulter
the
recently.
shit that we don't think about, because honestly, I really don't. The only reason that I have a phone is because my husband has a phone and it's part of his plan.
When you buy your airline
part of
tickets,
his
though,
plan.
you know
Airline
it's
tickets.
Well, that you have a phone.
You can't read
Just
it
'cause
all,
he needs to
man.
keep an eye on you.
It's
He
crazy.
doesn't trust
Probably.
you.
How much?
Everything has
gypsies
terms.
me all the time.
Everything has terms.
2-point font, print, 10 pages. You're not going. I mean, Airbnb. I went to Airbnb to Switzerland. I don't know. I might have signed that the Airbnb host can come at night and cuddle with me. I have no idea. It's possible.
Wishful thinking.
I have no. Yeah, I don't know. Also,
It was
what's
rather
really,
lovely.
You know what's really sinister is recently. I've read somewhere that what they're doing right now with end user license agreements is they, in the fine print, they include that they can change the terms of the contract unilaterally
Yeah.
at any point.
Yeah.
And you can enter in some kind of Faustian contract and get screwed forever. You
And
don't
anything
know.
you download, they can just wipe off your device. They
Goes
can
back
just
to what
take
Louis
that.
said that we don't own anything anymore.
You mean it's like the Hotel California?
Remind the folks about your story about John Deere.
Dear John?
The story you had about John Deere.
Oh yeah. John Deere. The Deere tractors are now so complicated in terms of they're so intricate in terms of software that it's very hard to repair them. But farmers, they can still repair like simple things. But there's been block by John Deere. It's software block. You have to bypass the software block to be able. Otherwise, the machine is blocked and you can't do anything. So for a farmer, this tractor costs $100,000. It's their well-being. I mean, they can't function without it, and you have to harvest. And you don't have 3 days or 4 days to wait for the John Deere representative to come and fix and charge you, by the way, thousands of dollars. So what they've done, the farmers in Nebraska and in Kansas have contacted Russian hackers And from Russia, they're paying a little bit, few $100s to a Russian hacker. From Russia, they hack into the software and they remove the barriers so farmers can work. So we have a bizarre pact between farmers from Nebraska and somebody hacking on a computer in Murmansk.
Weird.
But the significant thing there is that John Deere has literally configured their tractors so that the farmer who ostensibly owns the tractor is no longer
Doesn't
allowed.
own it anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't. It's
Yeah, it's
just a
gonna lose
mirage.
business
What
in the
is
long run.
really amazing, I have to say, is that the latest satellite images of the naval yards in Murmansk are that all the Russian submarines, which used to be black with a big red star on the front of them, they're all now green.
That's some kind of
Isn't
stupid
that
joke.
isn't that bizarre?
Green with
What?
deer on them.
Oh.
And do you know what? There's a new verb. When a farmer fixes something, they call it farmering it. I did not know that before now. Yeah.
That's a good word.
To farmer
Farmer it.
something.
Farmer it?
Farmer it.
Yeah.
I'd not heard that before.
That's a
So they
lot
need
less
to fix
racist
a
than
bit
most of the terms
welding.
I'm aware
So,
of.
yeah.
We'll farmer it. What I want to know, we'll start with Evo.
Oh, God.
What, Evo, grosses you out? And I mean, really grosses you out. Things that you get. I have two in particular, three actually. As you all guys know, hard-boiled eggs is something I cannot deal with.
What?
Right? No, I can't.
Are you kidding me?
I,
I'm not-
I have a
no.
little fun if I decided.
What the
Rotting vegetables is another thing that I really
Well, I don't
like.
think anybody likes
And the
salty
worst thing-
vegetables.
The worst thing of all are portable lavatories. We call them porta
Porta
potties.
potties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particular. No. Hard-boiled eggs. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I came across a hard-boiled egg in a porta potty. It would just be
So
awful.
if I get you a plate of hard-boiled eggs, put them in the porta potty and give that to you
Things
for Christmas.
nightmares are made of.
Is that,
With a little
No,
bit
that,
of rotten
that would
vegetables.
Be,
Yeah.
That would be. I'm not going to sleep for a very long time.
So
You
hard-boiled
shouldn't have told me
eggs.
that.
So yeah.
Well, what about soft boiled eggs? That's okay?
Soft boiled? To put in an egg cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a
And
minute.
it's like-
What are you Brits doing with egg cups? Do you not know how to put an egg on a plate and just have it be there?
No.
No, they
It's
need
so
to
that-
have an egg cup.
It's so that we
Back to
can
this
use
again.
soldiers, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Now, I'll explain soldiers to you another time. Now, what grosses you out?
You know,
Really grosses you out?
I hate milk. I don't like milk.
I don't
Did
either.
not know that.
Yes.
I hate it.
Milk is gross on many levels.
Guys are
First
both
of all,
weird.
it's something that's produced to feed the offsprings of another species, which I don't.
Depends on what kind of milk you're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about your regular cow milk. Also, milk, it's not very well known, but I learned when I was little that milk has pus in it. There's acceptable levels of pus allowed in milk.
Is that why it
Yeah.
leaves that flimmy, nasty shit in the back of your
Pussiness.
throat?
Lovely.
Yeah. So the very idea, of different species pus in different species milk, it just kind of grosses me out. I don't like milk.
Well, now I'm going to put beer on my cereal from now on, so there we go.
See, this doesn't bother me at all. This literally.
Yes,
I
yeah.
hate
Honestly,
raw.
you and me both. I drink
Come
milk
on,
all the time. I love milk.
Let Evo finish. Come on, go.
I hate the idea of raw oysters,
Agreed.
which is considered delicious here. The idea of eating somebody that looks like he's being hacked up by Gary Busey is just absolutely repulsive to me. And people are drinking those. It's absolutely disgusting.
They're pretty damn delicious. I have
They
to
are?
disagree with you on that one.
Okay, well in that
Raw-
case, Jane, since you were very
raw
happy to
oysters?
stick your nose in, let's have you. What really grosses you out?
Fabric grocery bags that people don't wash and they have
Oh God, no,
blood
that's not,
stains
that's not,
all over
that's
them,
not-
and they
that's
come
not
to get
gross.
No,
their
that's
they come to
understandable.
get
That's
their
not
groceries
grossy.
in them, and they expect other people
No,
to touch.
everybody has
the
their own
nest.
thing that grosses them out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's disgusting.
she brought something up immediately. It grosses me out when I go to the bowling alley and I see people eating French fries. Everybody knows they never clean those stupid holes on the bowling balls. Can you imagine how many nasty sausages?
That's good
were
for you.
in those?
It's like a peanut dish at the bar, though.
Yeah, that's
You ever
good for
watch
you.
that?
Helps build your immune system.
Jane, do you have anything else that really grosses you out?
I have a lot of things actually, but that was the first one that came to mind because it's been so recent. I'm with you on the egg thing, but mine goes further. Unless it is absolutely solidified, I will not touch it. But I do not like the hard-boiled eggs, which is bizarre because it's
the
completely
smell
solidified.
for me.
No, I can handle scrambled. I can handle fried with it completely fried all the way through. No runnies. That's disgusting. I cannot take it. To watch people mop up their toast and their bacon in it. Ugh.
Oh, nummy. So
gross.
good.
Jason Springer now. Come on.
Mine.
Had anything really seriously gross yet?
Well, that's
bags.
about to change.
Oh, good. Come on then.
So mine is when I see someone, and when I say someone, specifically an adult.
Why are you
Children,
looking at Dr. Orlando?
I'm just looking over here at the
okay.
light beer sign.
Deliberately not looking.
I'm not looking right at him. That's no.
All right.
That would be rude.
That would be rude. That'd be uncouth.
Couth.
So when I see someone, again, specifically an adult, children are allowed to get away with this because they're children and maybe they don't quite know yet. But when I see an adult pick their nose and eat it, that just grosses me out. I just want to get up from. If I see it across the room, I want to get up and go right to that person and go, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It happens a lot when you drive.
Yeah.
You look at somebody and they're like at the traffic
No.
light.
It's okay if you got to pick your nose. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There've been times where I don't have a Kleenex. Maybe I'm driving, and yeah, I might, get something out. But I'm not gonna sit there and look at it and go, "That looks tasty," and then eat it. That shit.
People are hungry, man.
That is just fucking nasty.
What about like mucus and spittle? See that I
Mucus
can't
and Spittle is a
stand-
great name for a heavy metal band.
Can't.
And now on stage 5,
That one
Mucus and
makes me
Spittle.
sick. That one makes me sick.
Give it up.
Teething
Well,
babies.
Picking your
Teething
nose
babies.
and eating it.
Picking your
right?
nose and eating it, and kind of going along with what you just said, you kind of just gave me an idea a little bit. It doesn't quite gross me out to that extreme, but when I see someone do a farmer's blow, if they're, if I see
Farmer's
it on,
blow is a gay term.
if I see that, maybe in your state, buddy. When I see that like on television, and I see
on
someone,
the ground.
yeah, and I see that on television, and someone does it, I'm like, okay, that's fine, but
Television?
But if
Okay,
I'm
let's-
if I'm watching a baseball game live and someone's a few feet away from me and they do that, I'm like, dude, that's just fucking nasty.
It's a Dirty Sanchez and Farmer's
Kathleen,
blow.
what
Yeah.
grosses you out?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a mother. I'm used to most stuff. I'm not fond of seeing people clean out their ears in public. You've seen people
I was
digging
gonna go
inside
right
their ears.
You've seen that?
Picking their teeth.
Who does
What about
that?
Well,
Outside
do.
of the kitchen here at Conroy's.
yeah, I can
Glasses.
understand if you've got something really stuck in your teeth and you can't get out into private. But any of this stuff should be kept for private areas, really. Yeah. I mean, eat your boogers in the restroom.
Yeah.
Orlando.
Or just don't do it at
Yes,
all.
don't do it.
Yeah.
All of these things are annoyances to me. Everything that we've talked about so far, none of them gross me out. What grosses me out is the smell of disease.
Huh?
If you've ever been around someone
Yeah.
that's profoundly ill,
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good
the
one, actually.
smell that
Yeah.
just comes off their
The smell of
The
despair.
decay.
not
antiseptic.
not despair,
Infection
which
and stuff,
It's
right?
infection.
the
decay.
smell of an
Infections.
infection.
There we go, okay.
that,
Antiseptic
as
that
it's-
goes along with their healing.
that grosses me out, and that might be for me the only thing that really, truly, like everything
So
else
you
that we
couldn't
talk.
work in a hospital.
Or a nursing home.
Well,
Or a funeral parlor.
yeah, it would be super, super difficult because
I always thought there was a certain smell in old people's homes and in assisted living and stuff like that. And I always thought it was urine until I realised I was diabetic and I had to start giving myself insulin. And there was the smell. Our producer, Eric the producer, he has one and I know what it is.
Give
Really?
him a hint. He doesn't look like he knows what it
This is
is.
kind of creepy. How do you know these intimate things about him?
I don't know. Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Something about clipping
yeah.
fingernails.
I have a coworker who
clips their nails.
clips
at work.
her nails. It's right on the ground.
That is
It's just
that's not only disgusting. That's just rude.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you see it, and you don't even want to go near it to
If
get
we're
rid
in
of
the
it.
studio,
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
to kick it underneath the waste paper bin.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Eric can't
It's an
move.
instant look away.
Yeah.
And we got a shop vac thing, God, so you can stay away from it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
You mentioned eating snot, your own snot. Is this like, by the way, snot spelled backwards is tons. And I just realized that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I can die now?
Is that a form of cannibalism? Because it's
No.
mucus from your own body.
No.
I think it's
part of your own
technically
body.
autophagy, is what it's called.
Okay, there you go.
If you ate somebody else's snot, now that might be cannibalism.
And even this conversation is starting to disgust me.
No,
Right.
I came up with one that's truly
It's still
disgusting.
weird. Evo's really
Okay.
getting into this now.
Yes,
isn't
What's
he?
really
because
disgusting?
I just remember it. So I was at the seaside recently, and it was this new fad. That was the most disgusting thing, and it didn't occur to people how disgusting it was because everybody was doing it. So at the beach, they have these stations where they have these giant aquariums with tiny fish in it. You sit on a chair, you pay money for this, and you put your feet in the tank, and the fish start eating your feet and consuming the skin
Oh, yeah.
The
from
dead
your
skin.
feet, the dead
Yeah.
skin.
The dead skin.
And so I'm thinking, dude, this is the grossest thing. Don't you realize your feet are in a cesspool of dead skin, other people's dead skin? Also, the fish is pooping the dead skin.
That's why you
that
take
they
a shower
just
when you're
ate.
done.
Oh my God, it is so freaking disgusting. But that's an excuse that you can use about anything. That's why there's a shower. That's why you can take a shower.
And it's the beach, so
You just swam in spunk. Well, that's why people
That's why you
invented
take a shower. Yeah.
So it's
What about you, Mr. Taylor?
Yeah. Oh, he
What
did.
about your hard boy? What's your hard boy?
He was first.
That
I
really
know.
gross me.
But
I
do any
think-
of ours kind of
Inspire
enlighten you and inspire
grossedness?
you?
Yeah, fingernails.
Yeah?
No, portable lavatories.
That's, all right.
You said it.
You know,
Especially if the toilet paper's going the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's this. You see, back in the day, in England we used to have these outside concerts. Right, festivals, and for the gentlemen, right, what they would do is they put up a corrugated iron fence, galvanized, and then they'd run a guttering. Right, that would be about 3'6"
Yep.
at one end,
You can stop right there, man.
all the way down to a large
You
tank.
can imagine the bouquet.
Now I just
Now the
imagine
thing
it
is, what you
trough.
used
Yep.
to do, the sensible people, if you didn't want to get in a queue, you'd go down near the tank, right? And it didn't really matter because it got a hell of a head on it because it was all beer. Now think about it. No, serious now.
No.
Hot or cold? Which do you prefer? Hot or cold? Do you prefer it 95 degrees out or 0 degrees out?
You
What
mean
do
food or
No,
anything?
no.
Weather.
Temperature, you
Atmosphere.
want.
Temperature.
Well, who's gonna go first? I mean,
So-
it's an easy
Hot,
one.
hot, 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 hot.
Kath prefers hot. Yeah. Dr. Orlando,
Cold.
cold.
Cold, hands down. I can put on more layers.
Cold.
I can't take off my
Jane,
skin.
cold. Evo.
Yeah, it's actually. I mean, I have the benefit here of having read about it because it's scientifically proven that cold is better. Your body actually adjusts better to a little bit cold. Now, I'm not talking about extremes. We have a thermostat, right? It's the hypothalamus. We have a thermostat in our brain.
Sure.
To maintain homeostasis for your body, it needs to maintain 71 degrees.
Good old homeostasis. I
Yeah.
like him.
71 degrees Fahrenheit, about 21 degrees Celsius, right? Anything hotter or colder is bad, but cold is a little bit better, and it actually stimulates brain activity. Hotter countries, I know this is gonna sound horrible, but every like 2 or 3 degrees hotter climate, decrease in test scores, decrease in productivity, decrease in brain power. Anything moderately colder, up. Sleeping, when you sleep, it has to be colder. It has to be like 67, 65 even degrees. So there's an optimal temperature for sleeping. There's optimal temperature for
Evil.
functioning
Evil.
and thinking. Yeah. That's
that
what,
brilliant retort.
That
I thought
is.
so.
Yes.
Yeah, I love.
But
this,
she likes
this-
it hot, so
Yeah,
She likes it hot.
Yes.
So she
This
doesn't really
is-
think a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
This
yeah.
is the universal GOP comment to science.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, 99% of science.
Okay, so that wasn't. I don't know. Okay, well, let's try another one. For the from the audience, what are the 3 songs or pieces of music that, for you personally, define the most significant events in your life. What are the 3 songs or pieces of music that for you define the most significant events in your life? I'm going to go with Dr. Orlando first.
I reserve the right to change these at any point in this discussion because
It's a hard question.
actually Purple Rain did not make the list. So
I respect you just a little bit more.
So when I was a kid, I took to listening to music to go to sleep at night. So there is one particular song that really sort of spanned the entire time that I was at home, like junior high, high school, coming home from college, or even in college. It was listening to Def Leppard, Hysteria, like as I'm going off to sleep.
I would have guessed when it comes to sleeping, reading.
Oh, well, before that, it was License to Ill, Beastie Boys. I could go to sleep to that album like better than anything else, except for Theater Pain, Motley Crue. That was the other one that I could just put that on, and it would just
really worry me.
It would just take me right off to sleep. Anyway, so later on in my life, like the women that I became involved with, and the first woman that I married, like, and probably way more dour and depressing than I really want to be. The song "One" by U2. The very first time I heard it, it's just like, this
No
is
dude looks like a lady.
when damn Evo, damn.
That's like a burn on Dr. Orlando.
One is a great song.
When
Great
he
song.
says, you say, love is a temple, love's the higher law, love is a temple, you want me to enter, but then you make me crawl. That was every relationship I had up till that point. So for me, like, if I was constructing like the soundtrack to my life, it would obviously have Purple Rain. That just goes without saying. But it would for sure have Hysteria. It would sure have One by U2, and then it would have my ultimate party jam. When I got divorced from my first wife, the song "Tunok Tunok Tune." If you don't remember this, I got to pull this up because it was at my divorce party. Like, we all danced to
Got it.
Tunok 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 Tunok.
Yeah.
Those would be
Got it. Got
those
it.
would be the 3 songs
Oh
that I would
my
pick
God.
for the soundtrack of my life.
You are messing with us. Tunuk, tunuk, really?
That's awesome.
I'd have to have.
Oh my
I would have to have Tunok Tunok.
Oh my God.
But Purple Rain was on it.
Rain would have to be on.
Purple rain.
But
Purple
because we
rain.
have to move on and people are driving off the road screaming, Jason Springer now.
Let's
Let's see if you can bring the...
For me, I'm going to kind of echo a little bit with Dr. Orlando. I'm going to go with some U2 as well, actually. And I really don't like U2.
Neither do I.
I say I really don't like
Neither
them
do
at all.
I.
But my first year in college, the album October, for some reason, I listened to the hell out of that album. And I can't tell you why. I mean, the album itself is about kind of this person's transition in life. And I think that's why I kind of just was driven to it and why I just gravitated towards it.
You were in a transitioning period
Pretty
of your
much, because
life.
I had that first
Yeah.
taste of freedom ever in my life. But now, today, I hardly ever listen to it. I don't have a desire to listen to it. But that year, I just listened to it constantly. And then I would say my next would be an actual song by Grand Funk Railroad. That would be Captain, or as we may know it, I'm Getting Closer to My Home. That refrain that you guys,
Right.
okay, because that song, when I was coming home from Thailand, when I was in the Peace Corps, I was listening to that a whole lot before I left, and then on my way home, and when I finally got home. And for me, I think that was because coming home from the Peace Corps meant that my life, my non-professional adult life, was over. Because when I got back from Peace Corps, I knew, okay, now I got to go.
Now it's big boy
I have to go
time.
actually make a career.
Real
Right.
You know,
right.
You know that freedom is gone.
Yeah.
And then my last one, which kind of adds to that as like the next thing that when I kind of began my professional real life, I guess, would be the album No Code by Pearl Jam. Because with songs like Who You Are, In My Tree, I'm Open, Off He Goes, there was just so much just open freedom and opportunity and possibility about that album that just it really helped me remind me there's so many things I can do with my life ahead of me.
Kathleen.
Well, I only have one song that really means a lot to me. But I've got to start this by saying I am made differently from everybody else here somehow. Music is not
You like to
a
be
part
hot.
of my
The only person here.
life. I don't listen to albums. I never have. Never interested me whatsoever. I wouldn't know a U2 song from another song.
You know what? You should be proud of that.
Yeah, well, the song that means something to me is no, I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen, which is a very old song. Not just because it has my name in it, but because it was my father's favorite song.
Oh, is that why he named you?
I was about to ask that.
Well, he was a barbershop singer. So it may have had something to do with it. And it just reminds me of him.
Very nice.
Evo.
Well, there's so many.
Well, you only got 3.
I'm going to have a hard time coming up with 3.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
Music's kind of like has an enhanced meaning for me because I grew up behind the Iron Curtain and grew up idolizing Western music, and so I've listened obsessively to rock and roll and all that stuff, like you did too. And anything by Led Zeppelin, I was obsessed with Led Zeppelin. I was analyzing to ad nauseum everything they've done. There's a song we've talked about it since I've been loving you that helped me wake up every morning.
My favorite.
You can't really go wrong with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, it's really bizarre how 4 instruments, because Robert Plant's voice was an instrument, they can build such a wall of sound. It was really, in the analog age, it was really overwhelming to me, and I would analyze the levels, the layers of music in a song. Since I've Been Loving You is a simple song. It's not as complicated as some of their other songs, but it has a very interesting progression. So for waking up, it's incredible. And I had to wake up every day at 6 o'clock to go to school because it was on the other side of town. So I had set it up on my tape player, and I would just push the button because the alarm clock I would hear, and I would just push the button, and then it slowly builds up and grabs you by the collar and pulls you out of your dream. But it's gentle and it progresses and it builds.
Starts with those first 4 notes.
Oh, yes.
And then the drums come in very slow right behind it.
Yes.
And then it just builds.
And it builds and builds and builds, and it just becomes this swelling of music at the end. And at the end, you're awake and you're brushing your teeth, and it's fantastic. Now, music, if you think about it, it hasn't. Music was not invented. It was discovered, like you discover a continent or how much nitrogen there's in the air. It was just discovered because it's everywhere. It's in.
So what are your other songs besides that one?
I like the Albinoni's Adagio, Tommaso Albinoni's Adagio. You will recognize
that's good.
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and every time I hear it,
It's one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, it triggers for people memories of people I've lost. It's a very sad song. It's also very beautiful, and it also builds up. But it's simple. It's actually not Tommaso Albinoni's song, but that's a whole different story. We don't have time for this. But read it on Google. He created just a few bars of it, but it was composed by somebody else. That's a great song, and there's some songs you can't. Think about how many songs are so embedded into the texture of our society that certain things can't exist with certain music. Like, you can't have a funeral without like Dust in the Wind, or a wedding without Another One Bites the Dust, or no, I meant to say Mendelssohn. Sorry, or
Jane,
the Four
let's
Seasons
go-
without the Four Seasons.
Let's go
it's
across
funny
to
you should say
Jane.
that because when I was a kid, the movie Flash Gordon came out,
Oh,
and
my God, I watched it a million times.
I got attached to the Queen album of Flash Gordon, and he's American.
She's a maniac.
Hang on, do you mean Flash Gordon or Flash Gordon?
Flash Gordon.
Oh, Flash Gordon. I
right,
thought you were
okay.
Flash dancing.
Oh, stop it. So, no,
Flash
I got
Gordon.
attached to Queen because on that album was...
Just like Lewis.
We Are the
Gets attached to Queens
Champions
all the
and
time.
Another One Bites the Dust. Anyway, I got attached to Queen, and I started going off into that. And then when I was in 8th grade, I discovered my grandfather's record collection downstairs and immediately fell in love with one big band song called Sing, Sing, Sing.
Sing, sing,
And,
sing.
and yeah.
Everybody start to sing.
And
Sorry.
it's okay.
With a swing.
You guys go ahead.
Anyway, continue the story.
Can you tell we like that song?
So then it opened that kind of a facet into that genre. So I became a big band enthusiast.
Oh, great music.
And then, so we've got first grade, eighth grade, and then I don't know. I mean, I'm the exact opposite of what Kath was saying. Music is such a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
When I ask people, if you had to choose, if somebody forced you to choose one of your 5 senses to lose, which would it be? And my big 2 was sight and sound, and I would have to pick sight because I cannot deal with living without
imagine.
Agreed.
music.
I
Cannot.
understand.
Agreed.
Cannot.
I understand.
So I don't know if I have a third answer or not, but those are the first 2 that popped
Anything
up
by
in my
Tool?
mind. Yeah.
Holy shit, that was what I wanted
Hold
to
on.
change to.
Hold on.
46 and 2.
Stop it.
Thank you. I guess.
No, there was actually this one moment, and I don't know if it is actually that big of a deal for me myself, but I will never ever forget it. Was the moment I realized that my toddler was listening to the same music that I was listening to, and she was singing.
Right.
And she was probably like 3 years old, and I had this hip hop album, and this was in the late '90s. And
So it was dirty.
I was and I was at an arts and crafts festival in my home little podunk town, and my daughter
Was going,
was
"I'm so
skipping
horny.
off of skipping off of flagstones, and my friend stopped me mid-sentence, and we both turned to look at her, and I hear her go, "He's a slut, he's a hoe, he's a freak, got a different girl every day of the week." And he goes, "I can't believe you're letting your kid listen to that." And I go, "Well, I didn't know she was actually listening."
Apparently.
That was fun. That was fun.
My daughter had a very strict diet of Led Zeppelin for the first 3 years of her life.
The forced diet.
Yeah. Mr. Taylor, what about
For
you?
me, this was a question that was put to us, and I had a lot of difficulty with. I actually rarely have a lot of difficulty with.
Well, there's so
with
many
songs.
options. I mean, it's hard to just pick 3.
I think that leaving aside Glenn Miller and things like that I liked. The first song that really got me going, which was a hit for me because I love rock music, was House of the Rising Sun. Listening to that on
It's a good
transistor
call.
radios.
It's a good call.
I think the next, Eva and I share a love of a particular band that I had some things with. The band's called Uriah Heep.
Yes.
July Morning was a big deal.
Yeah.
Then I think the first song that really just sent shivers up and down my spine every time I listened to it, every single time,
George Clinton,
is
Atomic Dog.
David Bowie's Starman.
Oh, yeah.
And then more recently, I suppose, Cause music. The particular album was called Talk on Corners, which was before I met Kath. But What Can I Do, I think, is one of my favourites. But there's lots of others of people I knew who had bands, who were in bands, who did songs, most of which you never heard of.
Yeah.
There was a band called Splinter, for instance, and they had a song called Cost of Finetown. And even now, I would have difficulty listening to it. So, I think it's music, and Kathleen is true. She said when we first got it, she said, "I'd love to hear the music you like to listen to." And I fairly soon realised that, she wasn't interested. She was just being nice.
We have to explain about
nice all
July
the time.
Morning sometime. Not today because there's not enough time, but
Right.
we should explain about
Yeah.
the July Morning song.
Finally, I wanted to do a slightly more serious question, and I want to keep this short, right? So short, but I want to actually have an answer. I'm hearing from people that I interact with, particularly on the radio shows, that the public are getting bored with the constant criticism of Trump being unpresidential. They call him a non-role model, bad for the country by putting his family interests ahead of the country. And whilst they may agree with the premise, they seem to be just about done hearing about it all day on the news media. What might this fatigue that is clearly setting in mean historically? So in 50 years' time or 100 years' time, I'd just be interested in our team of interesting and clever people Is this a slippery slope? What's it going to mean for the country? Let's start with Kathleen. Try and keep it below half an hour.
Okay, well, first off, there is a difference between criticisms of style and criticisms of substance. Until the style creates substantial problems. And with our allies abroad, his style, cozying up for hour-long talks with Putin after dinner instead of talking to some of the people we're supposed to be more firm allies with, is turning into a problem of substance. So I can understand that people who don't want to have to think about it are trying to say, well, that's just style. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. And if people keep getting inured to it, well, tough shit. We're going to have to get the guy out of there anyway.
Two things. You're so right. I have one thing is historical, and you will appreciate this, Jeremy, because you're into history and World War II and all that stuff. But Germany was the birthplace of journalism. Germany, in 1930s, in the beginning of the 1930s, had more newspapers than England, France, and Italy put together. They had an avalanche of newspapers. At the time, radio was a big thing. There was no television, obviously. Radio, film, and newspapers. They were the cradle of journalism. Most of the newspapers were criticizing Hitler. They were vicious. And I don't know if the public became slowly inoculated, if they slowly became immune to criticism, but they started ignoring it. So there was a buildup of apathy in the German public against criticism, and I think this apathy contributed to the rise of the monster. Now, we don't want to become apathetic, and Sam Harris, you know who Sam Harris is, right? Sam Harris is a philosopher and has an incredible podcast, and he likes to say often that if Trump had only done one or two of the things that he has done, he would be out of the office already. But because he has done 1,000, there's such an overload that people they can't take it anymore, and they just start blocking it out, and they don't care anymore.
Making people forgive his first transgression by committing a more serious one.
I said I want to keep it short, and I do. I don't want to get in a big debate. Jane, what do you think?
I'm going to travel down a different facet as far regarding the history aspect of it. I still have a direct line to history as my grandmother just turned 90 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she and my grandfather fought in World War II as a waist gunner and a B-24 Liberator, and they are probably the most admirable people I've ever known. And they have a different perspective on this whole thing. So, in short, when I hear somebody that I admire and respect that much say, this is the most shameful thing I've ever witnessed in my life, I tend to take that to heart. And that's what I've got to say about that.
Well, I can say that if a waist gunner who survived World War II in a Liberator, whatever their politics are, whatever they did afterwards, they deserve listening to Dr. Orlando.
I'm just going to echo that sentiment. I think that what Jane pointed out is going to be the important thing that comes from this historically. We will have this mark in our history books that this guy was the most assholey president that we've ever had. And the interesting thing is you can look at history books and they clearly talk about how some of our previous presidents were assholes. But there's been nothing like this before. And it will...
Supermassive asshole.
Yeah.
This is supermassive asshole.
Jason Springer now.
I would concur with all of that as well, with both of them, and even with
you're a scholar of history,
with the whole idea of apathy as well, and just because you see that building right now, because people they are told the same event again and again and again, and they're bored because they get the idea, they just want some action, and there's no action, so they just don't care anymore, and so you're just basically you're just going to lull them to sleep, and they just don't care anymore.
I got one quick question. Sorry. So there's this joke, possible candidacy that The Rock from WWE just recently announced. Do you think having someone like Trump, and this is for the whole panel, do you think having someone like Trump in office makes that much more possible in the future?
Probably. Really
He was a joke candidate, wasn't he?
And this is my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Why
there you
not?
are.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Jeremy. Go ahead.
I think for me it's interesting because people knew that Stalin was a monster.
Yes.
Roosevelt and Churchill both knew that Stalin was a monster. But Churchill would frequently say that he felt that if he could only get together with the old bear, which is what he called him, the old bear, then they would be able to come to terms. But when they met, there were so many other people present that he was never able to actually have a genuine conversation
nice
with
reach
the
around.
old bear, which is interesting when you think about Trump talking to Putin. You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed. Want to thank our sponsors. Eva, if you could do the honors.
Yes, today we've been generously sponsored by Netscape Navigator. They didn't contribute financially to the podcast, but we will show up as the #1 search result on Netscape Navigator when people Netscape the word idiots.
I want to thank our producers and engineer Neil Rasmussen, and of course Eric, the producer. The team was Kathleen Taylor, Jason Springer, Jane Carter, Ivo Ivanov, Magic, Dr. Orlando, and me, Jeremy Taylor, the Brit on the radio and your luggols. And by the way, Doctor Who's a woman. Get over it.